What's good, everybody? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's going on? What's going
We
down?
live?
Yeah, yeah, we live. Hold on. Let me make sure. I'm gonna check real quick and make sure they can hear us.
Did y'all hear me on that super chats? If you did, I said what I said.
Let a brother know some. Hold on. I'm about to check on here because I can kind of cheat and just pop in. Hold on. Yes, because we are live now. Okay, let's see. Share. Down. Bow, 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 bow. Bow. Okay. Let's see. How's everybody doing? I know it's gonna be kind of tricky. We're figuring it out.
Let me put my phone on do not disturb.
Oh, so it ain't like ringing off?
Yes, sir.
Aggressively, you know. But yeah, man, we got a lot to talk about.
For sure.
We have a lot to talk about. We actually have already been talking about a good amount of things.
We've been wilding. We've been podding
aggressively.
Y'all will hear unpopular opinions. There will be things you disagree with.
Yeah, that's just how that works. Honestly, I think that the biggest thing about it is what we're talking about is the difference between the ideal situations and reality. That's the root of what we're talking about today. That's also going to be the subject matter that's covered in the pod. It'll just be in a more limited or condensed format. So that's gonna be something we do. Let's see. Oh, they're on discussions. And yes, that's gonna be an announcement. Oh, you said it is an announcement?
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. But yeah, one of the things we was talking about is not only racial dynamics, but railing the discrepancies between male and female dynamics as well. You want to go ahead? I'm just doing technical work right now.
I mean, shoot. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel like there is a dynamic at play here in society in this day and age where a lot more people tend to lean toward the idealistic view of things. You know, the utopia logic, one day everything will be this way, and we'll all be fine.
Right.
And I'm getting to the point where I'm just kind of fed up with it. I'm just like, yo, this is the biggest reason why problems aren't properly getting addressed.
Right.
Everybody says they understand the problem. Do they truly? All you really got to do is ask a person what the solution is. And that's where I think the biggest debate starts. What is the solution?
Right.
And when we hear the solution, how realistic is it?
Right.
That's where the idealism comes into play with things.
Is it, and also, is it something that we are willing to accept as a solution?
And the facts thereof that, such as the time that it takes, the money that it takes, the infrastructure itself that needs to be built, and the minds that have to change, the thinking and education.
The perspectives, yeah.
Because absolutely. I feel like sometimes we talk about concepts as if we're going to see them in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. And
we're not. That ain't reality.
No. Most things that are systemic in nature are usually generational in nature, in terms of they go and grow on a generational scale.
If I'm coming off aggressive in my tone, because I'm fed up.
He ready. He already ready.
I'm ready.
He been born ready.
Facts. That's literal facts. We got our mask on today too, for those of y'all who care.
Yep.
And no, I ain't vaccinated.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Unpopular opinion number 1.
Shoot, man. Man,
Look,
listen. Woo.
some things are worth examining before you try to hop onto it. And unfortunately, too many people are treating that sort of thing like it's a fad. And I don't judge anybody who does it. I don't judge anybody who's participated. I just feel very concerned about people who are trivializing it.
For sure. Agreed. I feel that sentiment. So, with that being said, some of y'all may be feeling, the few of y'all that are watching right now, share
Right.
this as well, because we're gonna get into it.
Please do,
Please share.
because it's gonna get real. It's gonna get real.
The main point of example that I see
Mm-hmm.
in this modern day and age
Right.
has to be dating.
Yeah.
Dating and men and women.
Absolutely.
I don't even know. I don't even know where to begin.
It's a hard thing to start off, honestly. It's very difficult.
Like,
Just because of the fact that it's a very controversial subject. It's something that can be viewed as potentially incendiary at any point. It's something that could be potentially viewed as controversial easily. I just man. It's just a hard thing to approach just because of that.
look, I'm gonna approach it then.
All right, go okay.
Look, it's like this, man. We live in a day and age where so many people preach about equality, and even sometimes equity, but equality is still the word that's being used. Equity is being used by a few people here and there.
Yeah, when it's rightly defined.
The problem is that what reality is, what a lot of people seem to ignore, is that we are inherently different.
Right.
Not just by race. That in itself is a whole different conversation. But men and women are different.
Yeah.
In how they think and how they behave.
And that's an intentional design. I know there's some people who believe that, the perspective that we just came here on happenstance. I believe in intelligent design. That's just where I'm at. But unpopular opinion number 2. But hey, look, we gonna start stacking them up. It's gonna get real. But by that metric, because I do believe that we are intentionally designed differently, I have to look at things from the perspective of we are designed differently for a reason. We serve an particular and a unique purpose. And because we do serve a specific purpose, we have to be designed in certain ways. Now, that's not saying that there aren't deviants, that there aren't deviations in how we characterize ourselves and how we carry ourselves and how we act. There are. But that is not a hard and fast rule, for one. For two, it is not always something you're going to see. It is a minority concept. There are men who act more feminine than certain women. There are women that act more masculine than certain men. And as a result, yes, do they deserve to be counted amongst the number of people considered? Yes, they do. But does that mean that they should automatically count as the majority voice? No, because that literally isn't a fact.
When it comes to generalizations and stuff, what's to be understood is that generalizations are neither good nor bad, depending on how they're used.
Right.
Okay? But they exist for a reason. It is to say that based off of all of these different variables and these different data points and things of such, that we've came to this conclusion. The correlation is there enough to then make the generalization more or less, more oftentimes than not. Some people even feel fact of matter or matter of fact, right? And for that reason, in reality, it's also about what we see and experience, right?
Right.
So it's like people love getting on these points that encompasses individual mindsets and thoughts.
Mm.
And that's where a lot of the idealistic versions of things come to fruition.
Okay.
You know, everybody's like, oh, well, it depends. It depends. It always depends on something all of the time. But those dependencies do not make up the majority.
No.
Which is why the generalizations,
it rarely ever makes up the whole.
It usually never does.
Right.
There's a reason for that. More oftentimes than not, as the phrase says in itself, right? The understanding of the phrase is that this is what's most likely.
Yes.
It doesn't say that everybody appeals to that. Literally, it doesn't.
No.
But what it means is that more oftentimes than not, this is what you'll see and or experience.
Right.
You have to, part of not being idealistic about how you think something should get done is also recognizing that right there is why you need to see things for what they are, not what you would hope for them to be in the perfect scenario.
Right.
Because when you do that, you become dismissive of what truly is, and therefore your judgment is clouded in superficial points and things that don't really truly contribute to what the current dynamic is.
They don't reflect reality.
No, they don't. And
there's nothing wrong with being an idealist. There's nothing wrong with having ideals, because ideals are the start of standards.
Oh, yeah.
And standards are an absolute necessary in our society and in life. So there is nothing wrong with having ideals. I think that it's perfectly fine to have ideals because you need them. It is a necessary function of our society.
Facts.
However, you must temper those ideals with reality. There has to be a balance between the two. Otherwise, you do fall into the hole of certain incongruencies when it comes to society, the way that you view things, the way that you understand things to be. You're going to fall into a hole of not fully understanding or fully grasping a concept because you were going primarily off of, well, this is what I think it should be, not this is what it is. Because you have to, me and you talked about this, you have to look at what something is first before you can move on to making something, better or more nuanced or improved. You have to do that part first. You have to look at it for what it is and look at it at face value. If you never do that, you'll never make it better.
True.
Because you'll consistently think that there's nothing wrong with it. That's why we have those people who walk around with MAGA hats on. People who walk around with MAGA hats are people who believe that the status quo has already been reached, who believe that everything is fine and we just need to maintain the status quo. Nobody would say anything like Make America Great Again if they thought that there was something truly systemically wrong with what America is and what it represents and what it was.
True. To add on to that, we want to set the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Because the title of the live stream is Ideal versus Reality, Dating and Other Things.
Mm-hmm.
So now, specifically when it comes to dating,
oh Lord, I knew this was coming.
The internet is currently, going a little wild because Steve Harvey, as he likes to do, he got on a platform and basically said that men and women can't be friends. Because, and the statistic that he used was 99.9% of the time,
Jesus,
the man, if he is friends with you, is just waiting for his moment to slide on through and get in where it's good. But his overarching point was that men and women can't be friends.
Right.
Because there will always be some sort of mechanism as such that exists to keep them away from being that. He said, now boundaries can be set.
Yeah.
And
usually can be adhered to
But otherwise,
if it's not applied,
men and women cannot be friends without there being
boundaries.
boundaries.
Mm,
His direct quote was that they can't be friends
at all.
at all.
Just
He side skirted it by adding if there are some boundaries in play.
right.
He said, I have nothing but male friends. I'm not friends with any women.
Right.
And so, NeRo, I want you to give your viewpoint on that.
Okay.
I'm going to come after you.
All right. Hold on. Let me make this. I'm like posting stuff.
I got you.
Yeah. But my perspective on that is twofold. On one end, I can see his point. I can see where he feels that men and women cannot inherently be friends in a vast majority of situations because of the way the social norms work and societal norms work and the way that and the rules of engagement that have been set in place for men and women. I can totally see that. On the other end, to say that it's 99.9% is really just putting on a bit. One, it's definitely not statistically correct. Two, it's one of those things where you're allowing no room for nuance. You're allowing no room for outliers and extraneous variables and opinions or extraneous variation in opinion. And that is inherently wrong. That is an inherently incorrect thing to do. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I can agree on the perspective or from the perspective that there are certain things and certain lines that if they are not clearly defined can be crossed between men and women very easily. But saying it as a hard and fast rule as if it is like some sort of universal constant is not the correct way to go. You know what I mean? There's just too many things that fly in the face of that logic. You know what I'm saying? Because that intentionally, like you're literally like, and I'm really arguing the semantics of what he said. I'm sure his intentions are different than his semantics, but the semantics of what he said is grammatically not correct. It's literally not correct in the way that you are allowing for no variation whatsoever in the opinions of every man on earth and every woman on earth. And that is inherently incorrect. So from semantic standpoint, he's incorrect. From a practical and societal standpoint, when societal norms are considered, he does have a point. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. So
What's good? We got our first person. Bad guy Maddox. What's good, man?
What's going on?
You digging the discussion so far? What you thinking?
So here's where I'm at on it, right? So for those of y'all just joining us, Steve Harvey said that men and women cannot be friends. He also side skirted and added a little piece in there about that if there aren't any boundaries set at the beginning of said interaction between men and women, that there's no way they can even function, when it comes to platonic or whatnot. So
yeah,
it's just I'm gonna speak from an individual standpoint, right, because
he's explaining it now, man.
I agree. I have one exception to that.
Okay.
And mine from personal experience, and that's the key here: personal experience, not generalized.
Right.
Because from a generalized standpoint, I'm rocking with him. Because I'd be willing to believe that most of y'all just simply can't.
Right.
That just plays on to male and female nature.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
Oh, yes.
Bad Guy Maddox said, I think Harvey is lost in generational translation.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's definitely. actually a very good way of saying it, because it comes from a dated societal view. But yeah, boundaries don't hurt. Absolutely. Like and like I was saying before, like I was saying before, ideals, boundaries, standards, they all fall in the same blanket. They fall in the same umbrella. They are needed things in society.
I would say that also,
It's
like,
necessary.
in my whole view of it is just simply this. It creates this idea that male and female interaction is primarily and only, because he said 99.9%,
Yeah.
rooted in some type of transactional exchange,
Yes.
right? So it's like, okay,
This is the only way in which we can function.
right. And I'm just like, wait a minute. I have female friends that I don't find attractive,
Right.
but I also didn't intentionally seek them out.
No. And you're not intending to dump them as friends just because they are not engaging in a transactional relationship with you.
The boundary was never set, so to say.
It's just an understand. Yeah, it's a general understanding.
What they say, what's understood don't got to be explained.
Right. Hey man, if you don't mind sharing this around, we just subscribe to you. So
push it out.
Absolutely. Get your homies in on this. Okay, so you do, and I see that you do a lot of like pro wrestling commentary. That's what's up.
Twitch and gaming and what have you.
That's what's up. I got a bro that does semi pro wrestling. A guy who goes by Rashad Moxon. He's a cool dude. He's definitely, and I got a lot of friends who are still into wrestling. I kind of fell off, but it still is something of interest to me. I've just been off so long.
But when we talk about the ideal, though, we are literally removing the reality from things.
Yeah.
A lot of people have this very perfect view of how they would like a particular thing to be.
Yes.
That's just the way life is. Everybody always talking about the perfect life, the perfect house, it's always the perfect something.
Yes.
Right? We live in a day and age where society tells women that they shouldn't settle. Yes. There's this whole no settle culture for women. Society ain't never told men not to settle though.
Right.
And so there's this thought that men just go for anything and that women inherently don't. But in reality, the truth of the matter is, in most of these cases, the men are actually getting pretty much what they want and some, but the women are not. So even though no settle culture exists and everybody's talking about they're not settling, people are settling. And but even the word settle itself has a negative connotation when it shouldn't have one. It shouldn't.
Like I said, a lot of things are semantic.
Bro, let me ask you a question.
That's the way things are applied.
But even if we do that though, right? Even if we say it's a semantic thing, there's a lot of things that do have a right and wrong.
Yes.
And in saying that, have you ever had two job opportunities, right? Have you ever had two job opportunities?
Mm-hmm.
One was like, this one offered X amount of money, and then there's this other one that offered less money.
Right.
But the one that had less money was closer to your house than the one that required more money.
Yeah.
That was paying more money.
Yeah.
You ever get the other job, the one that paid less money?
I haven't in my experience, but it's not, if the discrepancy wasn't huge and if there were other benefits that they could possibly offer me, I'd be down for it.
But either way, in that example,
right,
there's a settling that's happening.
Yeah.
You know what the settle is? If you're getting a job that pays more money, you're settling on the fact that it's not as close to where you live.
Right.
Whereas opposed to if you chose the other option, you'd be settling for the pay.
Right.
Either way, you're going to settle.
Right.
It's like settling is cool in any other sense except
relationships.
When you're dating somebody. and or I'd even go as far as to say, and even marriage.
Yeah.
Now, marriage is on a different tier. Because it's a actual real commitment.
And it is it's a lifelong one too.
Yes. But even then, if we live in a society that tells us the perfect person doesn't exist, then we already have an understanding that if you have an ideal set up, if your ideal is anything close to what you view as perfect, because some people use those words interchangeable and they shouldn't be, then you are literally saying you won't settle until you get the perfect person.
Right.
I got news for you. You ain't gonna find them.
No.
You ain't gonna find them.
You're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy.
You literally are limiting all your chances. And what you're gonna end up finding out is you're never gonna find somebody that's for you, because no one will ever meet your expectations.
Right. And see, the biggest problem is that there might be a lot who are good for you.
But
there might be a lot who will work for you.
You'll never know, though.
You'll never. But if you don't take the moment to consider their viability as mates for you, you'll never get any further.
The truth of the matter is, a lot of people, whether they male or female, are average at best.
Yeah.
That's the majority of people. The people who are the most successful, both men and women, they're in a different class than the average person.
Absolutely.
Now, that should be understood amongst many. I'm not going to say common sense, but that should be understood amongst many.
Right.
But with that being said, if you're that person, right?
Yeah.
How are you, in a world of mostly average people, how do you stick out as a male or a female? And then from there, do you present yourself in a way that makes you attractive to the person that you're attracted to? That's another question that needs to be asked that enough people aren't asking.
Right.
Are you the ideal person
for that other
ideal person you're looking for?
And see, that's the other thing. That's the other thing that always got me, is that you'll never find the perfect person for you. And even if you do, you are not going to be perfect for them, or there's going to be something wrong with you. I had a female friend. I ain't gonna say her name out here, but I ain't gonna put her out in these streets. But she made a good point. She said, "I'm not going to expect something from a man that I do not currently possess, or that I'm currently not capable of doing."
Sound pretty simple in concept.
And I'm like, I respect that.
You know how many people ain't that? You know how many people don't do that?
Right.
You know how many people come to a situation feeling like they're perfect or they're all they need to be? Right. And somebody needs to get on their level?
Right. And in some cases, maybe it's true.
But wait, though.
But unless it's verifiable, that's the thing.
Bro, even if it's not, though.
Right.
If you get with somebody,
okay,
y'all better be listening. If you get with somebody and you expecting them to be on your level, right, you've already settled.
Yes.
What the hell are you doing? Why are you expecting them to come to where you're at?
When you need to elevate together.
Not even just when you need to elevate together, but if you're not settling, this is why it makes no sense.
Right, right.
You're highlighting that you have settled. So wait a minute now.
A lot of things don't semantically make sense.
But you've settled now.
Right.
So now you're dealing with what you said you wasn't going to deal with. And now you're dealing with the repercussions, and you don't like the repercussions.
That, and to be honest, time in a relationship or union does that. It gradually grinds you down, because time does wear you out. So a lot of people that said they wouldn't settle, said they wouldn't do this, said they wouldn't do that, end up in relationships where they do all of the above eventually.
Or they don't get in relationships at all, and they single.
Yep.
And they're single for a long time.
Which, there's nothing wrong with staying alone if that's what you want to do.
Yeah. If you get joy, if that's what your life fulfillment is based around, cool.
Right.
Because I'm gonna say this. I'm getting tired of this whole single culture. The single life is so amazing type of crap. Look. And I just view it from a systemic thing at the end of the day. I view it from
it's all right. But...
I view it from a stretch of things. I'm not saying that people can't be at peace, bro. What I'm really saying is that there are things that most people would argue they want out of life that require another person to do.
Yeah.
And that ain't just children, for those of y'all listening at
home. Don't be nasty. We on YouTube.
It ain't just sexual pleasure neither.
Don't get us canceled.
There's a reason, like, the whole premise of our primary functions as humans is to interact.
Yes.
Whether that be male to male, female to female, female to male, male to female. All of that.
Communication is always the highest emphasis.
There's a reason why it's not just one sex here.
Right.
There's a reason why some of the biggest debates that we're having right now have to do about people's identity, body parts, and all that other kind of stuff.
Right.
A lot of it is predicated on the feeling of and the treatment of being alone, ostracized, and so have you.
Right.
With that being said, nobody truly wants to be alone.
No.
Plenty of people kill themselves just over that factor.
Physical and mental marginalization is a very...
People are killing themselves because they feel because they are physically alone.
Right.
People are killing themselves because mentally they feel alone. Some of them are doing both.
Yes.
Like it ain't...
Or sometimes lashing out on others.
A heavy premise on depression literally stems from that. And if you don't suffer from depression and or
right
are within a mental health profession, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've had the benefit of both being in such an environment and being such person. So I can talk from both levels. Look, nobody wants to be alone in this world. Truly. There might be short-term relief. It's usually predicated on past experiences, though.
Right.
Try telling somebody that they single, that they like to be alone when they done been alone their entire life.
They don't know what they like to be.
They don't know what, right. Not only that, they don't know what they like to be, right?
Right.
But also it's just like you're speaking from where you have been based on your experiences. In fact, I argue that your experiences are the reason you choose to be such.
Right.
I'm single right now. Has it not been like joyfulness in that? Yes.
Yeah.
But I'd be lying to you if I say I want to be this for the rest of my life.
Like no. I am perfectly content with this. Everything is wonderful and fine.
And those of y'all who are thinking of single in a relationship standpoint, trying to use that as a scapegoat, if you require any form or will want any form of companionship ever in your entire life, even if it's for a few months, you're dating around.
Right.
You might be single in terms of who in your household.
Right.
But you are not single in life. You don't keep to yourself.
Not completely, no.
Nah. Everybody talking about, well, I don't need this.
That's one of those concepts that you just need to dispel, is that there's nothing wrong with dating and playing the field. There's nothing wrong with figuring yourself out, getting yourself together. By all means, you should. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't front like you're unbothered by everything. I think the unbothered culture that started a little bit before the, cancel culture and things like that, that's just as bad, because folk acting unbothered all the time is just nonsensical.
Oh yeah, nothing is wrong with me ever. Nothing nobody does ever bothers me.
Right. And this is coming from somebody who used to try to be that way. I used to try to be that way because I always felt like emotions did get in the way, or emotions open you up for weakness, because openness sometimes is perceived as weakness. And that's not exactly the case. You being bothered by something, you having an issue with something, you feeling some type of way about something, emphasizes and proves that you are human. It proves that you are a man or a woman. It proves that you are a sentient being, because only sentient beings feel things. You're not a robot. You're not a robot. So, if you're not a robot, then guess what? You're going to feel things. And if you're going to feel things, guess what? You're going to be bothered.
Also,
and that's okay.
I want to let this be known.
It's totally okay.
Healthy conversations. I saw this today and I shared it on I think Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, the DarksKing Poet.
That's dark skin with a G on the end.
Thank you, sir. We'll be having links and stuff.
Yeah,
on the YouTube.
I dropped the link to the podcast in the comments. So in the event that people check this out later, which I think some of them will, because it's still kind of early, it's 1:20, but some of y'all might be online, some of y'all might not be. I don't know when y'all work.
For sure.
Yeah,
we know a lot of y'all at work on
the newest pod episode will be out by tonight, so you can view this, and this can kind of be your primer, and then when you actually watch, listen to the podcast, it'll be kind of this in a more compartmentalized fashion.
Sure, with a little bit with some poetry on the side, because we got bars for y'all.
Little bit, that razzle dazzle,
But bro, it's like, for people out here dating, I want y'all to keep in mind this. Healthy relationships require difficult conversations.
This is true.
Such of which that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Try to have this conversation with your significant other.
And I mean, it hurts. It sucks. I'm not going to
honestly,
say it don't.
Not even just your significant other, because I forgot we got single people too.
Right.
Have this conversation
with whoever
with yourself
you talking
first.
to too. Yeah.
I want you to think about it for yourself. Reflect on what we're talking about. Then what I want you to do, have this conversation with another individual, preferably one that you're interested in, or you can have it with friends and family too.
Or at least somebody, I'd say, because in my experience, this has helped. I'd say, and this kind of contradicts the whole Steve Harvey thing, have a member of the opposite sex that you can talk to, who will speak to you with an unbiased opinion.
An honest, unbiased opinion.
Yes. Somebody who gonna tell you that whatever you saying is trash, if it is. Somebody who gonna tell you that you're on point if you're on point, and somebody's gonna tell you you're tripping if you're tripping. Because sometimes if you run it by them, once you get to the point of actually dealing with somebody who you got a stake in, might help.
Also, be realistic about what your standards are in life, because let me tell you something. Nobody's perfect, and what you may find that if you want somebody above average, find out what those type of people like.
Right.
Because you may not be aware, and it may be why you're not attracting those people.
Right.
That's for men and women. If you think you deserve a higher quality man or woman,
right,
try to figure out with those higher quality, higher caliber people, what do they want from you? What do they like? You know, actually find out what other people like. Instead of it always being about what you like, want, what you like. Because we do that a lot. We get caught up in ourselves so much, man. It's sickening for some of us.
Yeah. And
it's never about what the other person wants.
Overt idealism does that.
Yeah. Well, I want this, or I need that. Like,
I need this. Yeah.
It's just like,
yeah.
And hone in on your values and your standards, your morals. These are important too. This is where your non-negotiables come from when we talk about what you're not gonna settle for.
It's the things, it's the balance.
Look, I ain't gonna settle for no chick that cares whether I wear Gucci or Levi.
Okay.
It's valid. A chick, right? Because for that example, that's something very superficial. That's not something that determines whether or not I'm a good man for her. That doesn't affect whether I'm a good husband for her.
For real. Because a lot of dudes who wear that stuff who are trash.
I'm assuming most of y'all want to get married or at least be with somebody for a long time. Focus on the long-term things. The things that matter in the long term. This short-term shit is going to be what it's going to be.
Right.
It's going to be that.
And the truth is, ain't none of us getting you.
Do they value respect?
Yes.
Do they value honesty?
Do they value you? Like, do they see you as something more than just either a trophy to have on your arm or someone who is a placeholder? Don't be an emotional placeholder.
I think, but see, that's what I'm saying. I think those personal values affect that, right?
Yeah.
Like if a person values respect, they're going to respect you. Because you don't have to be getting along. You could be mad at a person and still respect them.
Yes. Because you can disagree with somebody and not say something out of hate. And I think